Happy Wednesday and welcome to the Citizen Council live stream. I'm here with Brandy Martindale and Perry Holman. How's it going, guys?
Going
Good.
good.
How you doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Perry and I went on a tour of the Lakeside encampments. They're like just outside the town of Lakeside. So we'll show some video footage from that today, and then it's been a crazy week. How's your week's been?
Busy. Very
Busy?
busy. Yeah.
You look tired. You're like leaning up against the wall, tired. What about you, Brandy?
I've been in coaching zone, work, my regular job, and coaching pretty much every night now after hours. So
The learning the coaching or doing the coaching?
no coaching clients. I was a
Oh, wow.
executive
That's
coach
good for you.
before this. And so
For
now
for
adding
people
the life
just joining us, Brandy is a personal coach, personal life
life
coach
and
kind
health.
of.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right. All right.
yeah. So it's taken off. I didn't expect it to go this way, but it turns out that I'm good at it, and it's something that people really enjoy. So it has been busy in a good way.
There you go. Your
Yeah,
audio is cutting in and out a little bit again, but
great.
um, I think we can still make it out.
Okay.
Speaking of life coaching, someone who needed some life coaching this week, the CEO of the Waterfall Clinic, um, man, uh, Perry sent me an article over the weekend, uh, and then I did a little quick research and find out that he's a pedophile. I mean, not convicted, but the board, the Oregon Licensing Counseling Board or whatever, did a 2-year investigation and found out that he was indeed years and years ago in 1998 he had molested little boys as a youth pastor. I mean, like crazy stuff I don't even feel comfortable talking about really. But anyways, life coach. He probably needs one right now. He resigned, or they accepted his resignation. I'm sure there was a little bit of please get the heck out of here talk at the
I
boardroom, the
don't.
board
Yeah,
meeting.
I don't know if a life coach can fix that. I know I'd have to pass. I think that's outside of my skill set.
Right? Where did you end up even finding that article, Perry? You just like,
Oh, once again, somebody got a hold of me that said, "Hey, can you look into this a little bit? Is this true? What's going on?" And yeah, started
I'm not
digging.
totally familiar with the website. It was like Oregon Live, but
Yeah.
they had their facts. And as soon as you sent it, the article had mentioned that like the licensing board had done an investigation. I was like, ooh, like usually that's online, like it's a public record, whatever the like results of their investigation, or they have files on it. So I found them online and boom, there it was. And it
Mhm.
wasn't like an opinion or like an allegation. It was like straight up, these are the facts, boom, boom, boom. And it was like 1998 to 2001 he was a youth pastor and he was molesting kids, and then after that he became a counselor at some organization and he was molesting minors there and coercing them into sexual relations. And geez, I guess it all just came to light recently because people finally came forward. So I don't know if that means there's going to be more coming out. I hope to God there isn't. But it's breaking news, all just
People,
happening
yeah,
right now.
Yeah.
these people
Waterfall
rarely
needs
have.
to come out and do a better job of talking about what went on. It's kind of weird that there was a 2-year long investigation into him, and he didn't resign until that news article came out, and you put it online also. That's not
And it
really.
even took 2 days, I think, or yeah, like a day and a half from when it was, what went mini viral, Coos County viral online. And I think that's too long. But I've never been on a board of directors of a big organization, so I don't know. But yeah, I sent an email today. Other people have, but I sent an email asking one simple question: when did you guys know? When was the earliest you guys knew of this, of any allegations? And I haven't heard back because I emailed their like HR and press person. I did email one of the board members. She got back to me. Pretty much said she's not allowed to answer that because it's private. That's actually not private. Like when you knew about something. I'm not asking about
That's
allegations. I'm
wild.
asking about when you knew. And the specific person um, I emailed her because she had just filed to run for North Bend School Board. So I'm interested, if you're running for North Bend School Board, do you support sex offenders? Do you support pedophiles? Do you cover up pedophiles when there's an allegation? Do you cover for them? Right. So I'm not saying that she does. I'm not even going to say her name because I don't want to make it seem like I'm alleging that. I have no idea. But it's a question that needs to be answered.
And
Wouldn't
it's a
you think?
question that the public deserves an answer to. We deserve to know how long they knew and didn't tell the public. If
And
he's
this is
being
Well,
paid with tax, go ahead, Perry.
in the
Waterfall is federally funded. They get millions and millions of dollars in grants every year. So that's our tax money going to pay his paycheck.
And I believe they get
Child
that
abuse.
on like state, federal, and like Coos County from Coos Health and Wellness level, like all over the place they get funding. So um, definitely of public interest. And if you're on that board and you were in any way involved in hiding allegations, even if they were just allegations, and you didn't know, it's that's not cool. In this
And
day and
it's going to come
age.
out.
Yeah. And that
We're
so
going
the
to find out.
licensing board knew for 2 years. On the documents it said they knew, and we can get into it later in the end of the show because I know a lot of people are tuning in because they want to hear about the lakeside encampments that we toured this weekend. But the licensing board said that they learned of the allegations in 2023. So I don't know at what point the board at the waterfall knew, but I would like to have that answer. It's a very simple answer. So especially if somebody's going to run for school board, because we have a college who is supporting sex offenders. They
Right.
they agree with giving sex offenders second chances, even ones that have had many, many chances prior. They'll hire them right out of prison and
Correct.
put them in charge of the GED program. I had Perry, I had your nephew over helping me build a fence yesterday, and I forget how it came up, but because he mentioned he got his GED, and I go, where did you get it at SWAC? He goes, yeah. I go, do you know Curtis Buell? And he goes, yeah. And I go, okay, let me tell you a little story. So I told him what we know, that he was a sex offender in Eugene. He was molesting his students and went to prison for 2 years, and then got out of prison and got hired at Southwestern Oregon Community College. And you know what job do they give him? No, not janitor, not lunch lady. He's not working on the electricity. He's tutoring high school minors and helping them with their GED program.
The
And
exact demographic he abused.
insane. And
It is
he
insane.
I mean, he's I don't know how old. It's like 16, 17. And like, he even gets it. He goes, why the hell would you put him in that job of all jobs? Why would you give him that job? And then he was like, oh my gosh, all the homeschool kids go through that GED program. Like almost all of them. And he's like, he was kind of like, oh, they're like, homeschool kids are weird and, vulnerable is really what I think he meant, and man, I don't know, but we'll get into that in another time. Do you want to give an intro to how we ended up in Lakeside, Perry? And then I can play.
Chris,
I got
would you
like
mind
some footage.
before
Yep,
before we get into this, can I say my bit?
for sure. Go ahead.
So I wanted to give an apology to Jeff Felker. Our last show, I erroneously named him as the individual who was arrested in a gun violence incident. It was not him. And Jeff, I am very sorry. I understand you're on a road to recovery. You're doing great in your life, and you have not been convicted of a crime. And I apologize. It's important that we get our facts correct. Having an opinion that people disagree with is one thing, but we need to make sure that we have our facts as accurate as we can. And I do apologize for that. The individual who was arrested was Josh Felker. He is Jeff's older brother. And doesn't deserve to pay the price for his brother's crimes. And so for that, I am sorry. And I will commit to doing better due diligence, looking closer, and verifying my facts before I make a claim.
Yeah, and we can all do better at that. I mean, we've all made mistakes before like that, and they're not okay, obviously, if we have a bigger platform and a megaphone. But you know, we are human. We're not perfect. We're amateurs at best. We're just doing this in our spare time, volunteering. We don't profit off this. Our lives are personally not really improved by doing this. This is not for our own sake. It's for the community. So we'll do better. We're going to continually always do better. But yeah, and right before we get into the Lakeside thing, I just looked over at the comments here, and how cool is, we've talked about on this show that leaders need to step up and do better and be part of the community conversations that are happening. And check this out. We have Nikki Wood, the Lakeside mayor, watching this live stream. I mean, like, thank you, Nikki. And I'll get into it later because we've had some email correspondence, and she seems very interested in solving this problem and working with the community to get it addressed. And it's just like such a like yay moment, because I've tried working with other mayors in other cities, and it has not been easy. And that's like putting it super nice. And the response I have had from Lakeside leadership has been incredible. So I hope that continues, and I appreciate Nikki watching the show. And oh my gosh, we have a Lakeside City Councilor watching. I mean, this is how a community works. So I hope something grand and amazing comes out of this. I'll do my part. Look at it. We love our mayor. How cool is that?
Cool.
We've talked about North
That's
Bend,
awesome.
Coquille, Coos Bay, never had anything like this. So very cool. Thank you guys so much. And I'll throw it over to Perry. How did we end up in Lakeside?
So on Facebook, there was a post about the camps out there, and I don't know, roughly 2 years ago, I'd been out in the general area. And so I got on there and said, hey, it sounds like I need to tour those camps again. And then a local resident got a hold of me and said, hey, I'll take you on a tour through there, and we can go look at it all. I know right where it all is. And so I got with you, and we set up a date to go out there, and we went out there. When was that? Sunday? Something like that. And spent quite a few hours.
And a date it was.
Yes.
We were driving there, and you were like, yeah, we're going to meet. Well, actually, I don't know who we're going to meet. Like, do they even know who we are? And like, no one knew who anybody was. But that's Coos County. I love that. Like, we just showed up, and we like talked with this guy in the parking lot for, I don't know, geez, it was probably almost an hour before we even went over to the camps, because we were just, talking about what we can do better as a community, how we can solve problems, how we can move in a better direction. So anyways, do you even remember the guy's first name?
Oh, I have it written down. I'm horrible with names. I'm not sure.
He felt like an old neighbor. It was so cool. That's why I moved here. That's what I love about this area. I could run into him at the store, and we would probably just pick up right where we left off. And that's cool. So, but yeah, where was the area exactly? It was because you drove. So it's just outside Lakeside, kind of in between Spin Reel
just
and
west
Lakeside.
of the wastewater treatment plant, right there in the woods, right there between there and 101.
Okay. And if people go on our Facebook page, the Coos County Citizen Council, there's some images, and the very last image, I think it is a map of where it is. Not that like we don't want to encourage people to go there. Okay. Like, let's try and solve this like the right way, and not just like go there and terrorize people. That's not what we were asking. But if you're interested in where this is, because there are some people who live in Lakeside and they're like, I had no idea this existed. Well, you can look at the map and see why, because it's kind of hidden. It's like up over trees in a dune. So they kind of had a hidden little spot there by the Lakeside Cemetery. But yeah, please don't just like go there and terrorize these people. We talked with these people and interviewed them. The people that were willing to talk to us were, seemingly good people. They're just not at their best right now. So I know that there are some criminals back there. I don't know if they're back there right now, but that's another issue. But let's try and address it like the right way. So anyways, without further ado, I will try and
And the only warning we were told before we took the tour was that there are dogs out there that will bite you.
Yes. And that has happened in the past, and that's not fun. So yeah, they're not supposed to be back there, but it's probably not a good idea for us to go back there either. You know, it's a better idea to have professionals you know, do this sort of stuff. But when things aren't working out and things aren't looking the right way and law and order is kind of up in the air and chaos at the moment, you know, sometimes you got to go in and film an interview. But I'm stalling because I'm trying to find this file on my computer and I cannot. I'm trying to upload the tour we did. There it is. So we're at the Lakeside Cemetery, and apology for the, you know, they messed up the sign. I didn't do that. It's supposed to say no dumping, but they drive all over the cemetery. And actually, I'm going to pause it right away. These are tire tracks. So the gate is obviously broken. There used to be like a cable across there. So it would be really cool if we could get that back. If they need donations, I'm sure the people watching would be more than willing to help contribute to that, to get that gate back up so people cannot drive. Because the guy giving us the tour said he's been up here before, and they will back their cars right over these the tombstones, and change their oil. He's like walked up on cars changing their oil. They've got the oil pan sitting on top of a gravestone. And we saw the tracks everywhere. There's shell casings from 9mm guns up there. People are shooting in the cemetery. I mean, it's bad. It's a really bad situation, and it's really sad. Really sad. There were graves with like the flowers ran over. It's not cool.
If your video goes back facing the other direction, we'll be able to see actual tire tracks where they did change their oil.
I'm not sure if I didn't take much video of this. I thought we were going to do it when we came back, but we can always go there another time as well. Yeah, it was really a sad moment. And this was like right at the beginning of our tour. It was like a gut punch. It's sad. And I think, did he say who this is? It looked online that it was like leased by the city, but then I think it's actually the tribe, the Indian tribe.
Yeah, I'm not
positive. Do you know who owns it?
I didn't look at the maps like that.
And it's like completely surrounded by federal forest land. So like all the footage that we're showing is on federal forest land except this little cemetery, I believe. So I will continue the film. So it started out like this. You know, these are the typical scenes we see in camps. These particular ones were abandoned. Although the guy with us said there were people there just a couple days prior, and we've seen that, like, and then, you know, someone new moves in, they kind of rearrange furniture, and then it's weird. This was interesting.
It's a boat.
A canoe.
First ever bum boat.
that was interesting. But yeah, there's signs everywhere that say no camping, no overnight parking.
They even started taking my cabin down and started.
This lady, I don't think you can understand her in the background, but she wasn't talking to me. She was explaining that she lives here, but she was gone for a couple days and came back, and all of her stuff was stolen and ransacked. But I mean, you're living in the woods, so trespassing, squatting. So, and these were like 2-story structures. Yeah.
Hello.
And this was interesting. It says like stay out. It's just like, well, the woods say no camping.
Anybody
so, like,
here?
You want us to listen to you, but you're not willing to listen to us. I don't know. That was weird. Yeah. So I guess I'm about to trespass into the cabin, I guess. But just wanted to show people what this looks like. It's really sad. This is no way for people to live. And it's no way for our forests to look either. Aside from the environmental concerns, it's just not appropriate. There's obvious laws against this. This
knock,
is crazy.
knock. Is anybody here?
This was a 2-story, and I actually ended up talking with these people. I don't have the
Chris,
footage.
I was wondering if You guys wanted to
Talking
talk.
over
I'm
myself.
doing a story about people living in the dunes.
They didn't come out. They allowed me to crack the door open and talk with them for a few minutes, and we'll have that interview next week. So that's the city of Lakeside down there, and that's Airport Road, I think. And so the two-story cabin that you just saw is under these tarps right down below there. So that's how close they are to Lakeside, and they burn the stuff. That was a I don't know if I can go back quick enough. But yeah, they like bury stuff in the sand, a lot of their stuff, and then this was them burning it in piles. Yeah. And so this lady was here. She's lived there for 2 years, I think she said, this lady and her dogs.
Mhm.
And I'll have that interview next week as well. That one was like 45 minutes. That was the longest interview I've ever done in my life in one of these situations. And she had a friend staying with her. She said that the proximity to Lakeside there on Airport Road is bad. They go into the city and steal. Not her, but she absolutely knows that the people living back there go into the city. She said mainly the businesses, they shoplift from the grocery stores and Dollar General and things like that. But occasionally homes, and that's unfortunate. And they get drugs. The 45-minute interview is going to take me quite a while to edit and go through. We covered a lot of stuff. It was really cool. We talked about drugs. Like, she was really open about drug use, all different sorts of drugs. I have no clue what these drugs do. I thought fentanyl was like super meth, like meth times 10, but it's not. It's like meth and fentanyl are very different drugs, do very different things. So maybe I'm an idiot for not knowing that, but we went into like why people do drugs, what they do for you, how you overdose. And that will be next week. That was a very intriguing interview. But what do you guys think about all that footage?
Go ahead, Perry.
Well, my biggest thing is they're permanent residents. Anywhere else we've ever been, they have tents set up. You don't see the permanent structures like this. They've been there a while, and like I said, 2 years ago, roughly, I had been down by the train tracks and walked through those trails, and there's probably more camps in there, and they're still there too. And it's nobody has taken the time to get rid of these people because they're permanent residents.
And we had talked to the guy who gave us the tour, and he seemed to have tried to work with the Forest Service guy.
Mhm.
And I have no experience with the Forest Service guy. We're just hearing the second hand, and third hand, but it seemed like there was an issue there. I'm hoping we can make a breakthrough and work with somebody. Maybe he felt his hands were tied, or maybe he didn't feel like he had enough people to support him in cleaning this up or getting the situation resolved. So I think he has that now, from us and from other people that have reached out to us. So hopefully we can make progress. But maybe Perry talked to, because we've been to many other situations that look similar to this, but I have never seen a structure quite like that.
Mhm.
What about, like, what did you think how did this compare to stuff in Coos Bay and North Bend that we've seen?
It's, for, I guess you could say, population density, it's pretty normal. Camps situated not all that far apart, but not crammed with people, horribly thick with people. But yeah, the actual structures, there's nowhere else like this.
They were very established, like
Mhm.
these, and they were residents. Like they talked about, there was 3 main cabins, and they called them the cabins, the people we talked to. I mean, it was like a community.
Mhm.
These are established people, which is going to make this probably more complex to solve. There's probably a lot of laws in Oregon protecting them at this moment. but maybe because it's on federal land, it's different. And we've got a new hairdo in the White House, so maybe that will help as well. I don't know, but what you've seen some of our footage, Brandy. What do you think? How did this compare to other camps that we've been to?
I think this one is particularly disturbing because you see people who are trying to reside. These people, this is people trying to make a home, which makes it's sad. I think there's a couple of things going on here. The overarching social issues that are not being dealt with is the idea that as society has evolved and the world has become more complex, there's going to be a demographic of people who can't navigate our social complexities. You know, they can't fill out an application online. Um, there's just stuff that not all people are going to be able to do. Society has become more sophisticated faster than our evolutionary biology can keep up with. And so there's going to be a faction of society that can't self sustain. Now, sometimes that inability to self sustain can be from drug addiction, um, criminal behavior, things like personality disorders, mood disorders, um, things that lend to committing person on person crimes. And so I think we've got this overarching issue of how do we take care of people who can't take care of themselves? And then we have this sub issue of how do we deal with people who could be rehabilitated? And then I think a third layer of that is the decentralization of care. So we had, beginning in the 70s, there was a slow but steady closure of residential care facilities. This was largely due to both funding, which is, we could have an argument about how we spend our money and why. But there's also the issue of human rights activists thinking that it should not be okay to lock a person up in to commit people, basically. So the idea was we decentralize care and we now put the burden of caring for those who can't self sustain on the individual communities. Well, where that goes awry is places like Coos Bay and North Bend, where a large population of these people who cannot or will not self sustain aren't from our area. And so when you decentralize it like that, you're putting an undue burden on these small communities who frankly can't. We don't have the labor force with the skill set needed to provide that the level of care that these people need. We don't have the money for the facilities. Rather than having one large state facility where you can service hundreds of people with a small staff, now you have to have a separate building and separate staff for all of these different locations, and it failed. And so I think we need our local leaders to aggressively pursue change at a state level. And if that means going public and harshly criticizing their failures, that's what needs to happen. We need people to stop playing softball and really kind of call out the issue and call out the people who are responsible for the issue. Because we do need state care. We need state facilities where people can both be rehabilitated, can drug detox, but also be behaviorally rehabilitated. And what I mean by behavioral rehabilitation is really being taught self-sustaining behaviors, right? So getting up and going to work every day. What does that look like? Action by action, choice by choice, and teaching people those habits so that they can re-enter the workforce and they can re-enter, maintain their own housing and things like that. And then there's going to be that group of people who don't belong in jail, but they can never self-sustain. And we need proper state facilities that can provide that. They may not need a lot of support. They may not need hospitalization necessarily, but they still need some form of elevated care. And our state is failing to do that. And so I do think it's on our our county and city leaders to stop trying to rub elbows with Salem and crawl right up their hind end until they actually change the way they're doing things.
So you gave us a big to-do list. You're not wrong, but holy smokes,
Sorry. Yeah,
that was like
sorry.
30 things to unpack. But it's all good. No, like so we
There's
need
no
people
quick
like
fix,
you because you're gonna think of that bigger picture, right? And you're gonna be like, okay, all these organizations and all these levels of bureaucracy are gonna have to start doing something different, right? Like that's it has to happen. Somebody has to be high level thinking about it, but then everyone within those little organizations and bureaucracies have to think of individual, very specific, concrete things to start with, right? Like that cemetery, the first thing, like let's start with the gate, right? So there's got to be people that start there too, and we've got to sandwich this right in the middle and solve this problem. I've got it's like a 6-minute, 7-minute interview with one of the people we ran into back there. And I think that'll help. Maybe, I don't know, it might hurt the conversation because it's going to be a lot. We pack a lot into 7 minutes, and it's probably emotional for some people too, because he's very honest and I ask him some personal questions. So
let me hit on something right before you do that.
Go for it.
So inside Lakeside, they give out food to anybody.
Was it once a week?
I don't remember how often it was, but we have people in Lakeside giving handouts to these people who are criminals and robbing their neighbors, and there needs to be accountability there too. Why are you giving them food, allowing them to gain weight? The guy we went on tour with said these people are gaining weight.
The lady even talked about it. She did.
And so, there needs to be accountability. You need to take care of your neighbors, not just the homeless.
Culture change.
100%. And we, again, we'll show that interview. Sorry, I didn't have enough time to edit it for this show, but next week we have that interview with one of the people there, and she goes into it. She shows us what food she gets from I think it's like a food bank or something every week in Lakeside. She explains how that affects her grocery bill. She even goes into explaining how sometimes people take drugs because it helps their grocery bill. It's cheaper than prescription pills for mental illness, and it's so it's like self prescribed, and it affects your weight, so you don't have to eat as much. And that was how she was saving money, which was like really, really tough to hear. And she goes in and explaining all the ins and outs of that. I'm not doing a good job because I have no clue what I'm talking about, but she did, and she's been through it and she's made it past it now. She said she's clean at the moment, but she said almost everybody back there, I think she even said 100% of the people are using these drugs, and they're getting them, and they're also all going to the food bank. And that doesn't mean the food bank is bad, but like, come on, we can't have a community that's only looking at the problem from one perspective. You can't just say these people are hungry and hand them food and not do anything about them trashing the cemetery and trashing the forest and living back there and stealing from the stores and dealing drugs. Like that's not something we can allow and just think we're doing a good job because we're giving them food. Okay, like full stop. That's not working. So that is something we need to address. I'm sure you have more to say, Perry. You look like you've got more to say.
That's about it. It's just completely irresponsible to blindly hand out food to everybody when you know that there are homeless that are absolutely stealing from your neighbors. It's completely
and they admitted it.
Yeah,
like 100%. The people we talked to went fully explained it. I mean, I don't think they were doing it, the people we talked to, apparently, but they were more than willing to explain that everyone else back there is. So you're really spot on, Perry.
To be a person who is contributing the food and really deeply believing that you're doing a good thing, it must be very, very difficult to reevaluate your actions, remove your motive, because your motive or that doesn't affect the result. And so it must be very difficult for people who have these really genuinely pure, caring motives, but the result is not good for the community. And I think that's probably really hard for people to reconcile.
Well,
Well,
in the term help, it's not an objective word. It's very subjective.
Right.
And you can say you're helping people all you want. It doesn't mean you are actually helping people.
yeah,
Correct.
the genesis of your care needs to come from care for the community, not care for a singular individual. So you need to look
Care
at
for
it from
these
a
people
full
would look
perspective.
like forcing them into behavioral rehabilitation programs and detox programs if that's required. That's what care would look like. Sometimes with sick people, you have to make decisions for them. And I think that's forced rehabilitation is probably going to be what Oregon as a state has to implement to fix this problem.
Well, let's do this interview with a guy named Travis, and we can look at it from from Travis's perspective, hear from him, and maybe talk about what we could do for Travis. There's a lot in this little interview, and it's a glimpse into what their situations are, and his is pretty common. It's almost like 2/3 of the people I run into, this is the situation, more or less. So the interview is a little weird. He didn't want us to film it. No one back there wanted us to film them, their faces. So I had to like film the ground, but I put subtitles on it really big. So hopefully this is not the weirdest interview you've ever seen, but I did my best, people. I'm an amateur. So
Do you mind if I ask you a few
here
questions?
we go.
Sure. Camera, please.
I'll keep the camera down below, but if I could put this on you, it's just a mic. So, what brought you to Lakeside?
I was staying in Hauser and then complications.
Okay.
Yeah,
With where you were living,
yeah,
and you weren't able to stay there anymore.
yeah.
So, where are you headed now?
Well, so far I'm looking to find a new tent, but I got to get my debit card back.
Are you interested in going to Coos Bay and getting to a shelter, getting some housing assistance?
Eventually, I got to work out some things first.
Okay. What type of things? Getting your identification and all that?
Fines and stuff like that.
Do you think a shelter would help you with any of that stuff?
Maybe.
Have you stayed at shelters in the past? Have you had
Never
any
been.
success? Never? Do you have an aversion to it, or?
I don't know yet.
Yeah.
I know this is the whatever it is over there. What do they call it?
There's the South Coast Gospel Mission.
The mission. That's what it is. It's really hard to get in there because you lose yourself if you go in there at the wrong time. If you don't get there at the right time, they have to leave every day, and it's hard to get back sometimes.
What makes you lose yourself? The other people that are there?
No, I mean, like, getting back and forth there. I don't get around me very well anymore. I've been hit by 2 cars on this highway.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Walking back and forth to your camp?
Well, home at the time.
Where's home?
Home was a Hauser at the time.
Okay. Were you camping there, or?
I was up on a piece of property, my grandpa's property.
Okay. What do you do for a living?
I'm on SSI.
What did you used to do?
Well, I was a miner for a while over there at ORC when they were open 10 years ago. That was my last job, and I know how to weld, but I pretty much got fried by those 2 cars that ran me over. One was a Denali, and the other one was a red Honda. That one fried me.
Would you be interested in welding again?
I can't hardly. My back's too fried from that car crashes. It was a high speed crash right in the middle. I stood right in the center and took it head on.
What were you doing in the middle of the road?
Well, getting away from a big bear, I thought. I heard rustling in the bushes, so I'm walking in the middle of the road to get away from it, and it just wasn't there apparently. So they came. I thought they were coming for me because I beat my dad up that prior to that week, but he hurt my mom all my life. So really, he kind of had it coming from his son.
Did they catch you?
Huh? No, that's why I'm homeless, because I beat him up and he didn't like it.
Oh, that was where you were staying.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what's next for you?
I don't know yet.
Think-
Waiting on my debit card.
Okay. What do you typically do once you get the debit card?
Every month, damn near, I buy a new tent.
Buy a new tent every month?
Every month. It's clothes. It goes away pretty quick.
Do you mind asking me how much you get?
Just under 1,000.
So just under 1,000 each month. You go buy a tent, some clothes, and start over.
Food and start over. Yep.
How many months have you been doing that?
Just about almost every month.
For a couple years?
Yeah, 7.
7 years? 7 years buying a new tent, clothes every month with the SSI check. What happens to the tent and clothes?
Either it gets lost, somebody steals it, like my phones. I either break them on accident or somebody steals them. I can't take it.
That's why I see the gospel mission as maybe being something that can help, because then they'll give you a place to stay so you don't need the tent and the clothes, and might help you keep track of things and not lose them each month. Might help you get back up on your feet. We need welders. This community needs people able-bodied and hard-working. You look like
I used to be able to do it. After these 2 cars, I have a hard time hardly even standing up half the time. Now,
how old are you?
I'm 38.
38.
No.
It's just got a clip on it. There you go. You seem I'm 38. we seem like we both should be able to work at the same place and do a good job and contribute to the community. And I don't mean that in a demeaning way.
No, it's all good.
It's like I'm trying to give you hope,
I have enough hope. I don't see myself getting another job. You know what I mean? I don't. I'm just too. I have borderline personality, PTSD.
Is it like you don't get along with other people
anymore? No, hardly ever.
All right. We seem to be getting along. What are all those?
My borderline personality disorder and PTSD.
Although those are just cuts?
Ooh.
Like self-inflicted? Holy smokes. Any of those recent or?
No. If it was recent, you would know.
You think maybe you've put that in your past?
I hope.
Well, is there anything I can do to help you?
No, I need to go back to the doctor. That would be helpful.
So I think being out here, there's not really any help for you.
No, I kind of got to be out here right now. Way it is.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I got to get to the store so I get some
I
tobacco.
appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Nice chatting with you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Wish you the best.
Yeah. Thank you.
Man. I'll throw it over to you guys right away, but I mean, as pissed as I am at this entire situation, my heart goes out to this guy and other people. I mean, it's like down the rabbit hole you go. What do you guys think?
Well, and what it's so hard to know how to take it. How much is truth? How much is lies? If you assume it's all true, okay, it still isn't good in any form. I mean, how long has he been that he hasn't worked in 10 years? And how long has he been homeless?
7 years.
7.
So how many tents are floating around out there in the woods?
Yep.
How much clothing? Why is there no? Why doesn't he take care of his stuff? You know, if you have a tent, now granted he said some were stolen. Okay, but you should be able to take care of your stuff a little bit better than one tent every month.
Not if you have borderline personality disorder.
I mean, there's a lot of factors going into this for sure.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of those cases where this guy is not going to be able to self-sustain. Did you hear him say that he grew up watching his dad beat up his mom and then he laughed about it? And he didn't laugh like it was funny. Laughter is his coping mechanism. Laughter is the way he masks his pain. So you'd notice every time that he said something painful, he would kind of chuckle. That's his way of avoiding that negative emotion. So until this guy gets super intense therapy, which listen, it's expensive. Like you have to pay, therapists are highly skilled. They need to be compensated. This person has no desire to ever go back to work. Now, if he were recovered, would he want to go back to work? Probably. But this dude, when he says that he has PTSD and borderline personality disorder, I believe him. He is probably also using drugs. Like if I were to just guess, that's my guess, it's my speculation, I could be wrong. But this guy has got a lot of stuff going on, and he's not going to mentally be able to just get a job because Chris, the way you said, well, we're getting to get along great right now. Of course you are, because he was in a low pressure situation where he didn't have anything expected of him. He could walk away whenever he wanted. As soon as that person experiences a little bit of emotional pressure, he's going to melt down and snap out. He's a
Oh, for
perfect
sure.
example for we need behavioral rehabilitation centers where people can live for like a year, 2 years, 3 years until they're ready to be reintroduced.
But we've got to find a way to make this work, right? There's not a world that we have to live in where this is acceptable. I mean, we're
Right.
kind of stuck in it right now, but let's change it. And that doesn't discount any of the shit that he has gone through in his life and is continuing to go through. But I bet there's people watching this right now. I've been through some of the stuff that he's talked about, and like, I mean, who really wants to go to work in the morning? So, like, not everybody wants to go to work.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants to get along with everybody else. Not everybody wants to, deal with family members and past situations and families and like there's a lot there that people do deal with, and that doesn't mean that he just has to suck it up and go to work. But there's a way to fix this, and we've got to do it. So the suggestion I think I made there was like, look, dude, you're not getting help out here. That's like where we got to start.
Help.
Like,
No.
yeah,
He
but
doesn't
we've
want
got to.
Nope.
Well, we don't want them in the woods, so we can.
exactly.
We got to figure it out. Like,
Yeah, so
we
it's
can
a
be nice,
situation, yeah,
but
where like
we
his choices are unacceptable for, he's taking more than he's entitled to. Obviously, it's not acceptable.
yeah.
But this is a situation where this guy isn't going to change without being forced to change. And that is
Well,
what needs to change in all of our perceptions of this problem. We can't just keep putting a juicier and juicier carrot on the end of a stick. It's that has failed. So we need to pursue some other solutions.
but we've got to have the right people with the right jurisdiction to say, look, buddy, we care about you and we want you to be part of this community, but you can't do it this way. Like we have to draw a line somewhere.
Right.
And we have lines, they're called laws, and they're supposed to be in place to prevent people from living like that. I mean, that's an environmental disaster, what we saw. And it's also an environment, like, because the stuff, the waste that's being seeped into the water table, but also a fire disaster waiting to happen. You've got a drug epidemic being fueled by little encampment communities like that. So it's something that is not acceptable, and there's laws around it, and we need to enforce them, and we need to find the people who are in charge of that and work with them and get it. So I know that's like pie in the sky sort of stuff, but as we started the show, we've got some Lakeside people, Lakeside leadership watching this and interested. I communicated with the mayor yesterday a little bit. Off to a good start. I think that's great. We'll see where that goes. I think I have a lot of hope about this one, and maybe if we can get a handle on this and solve it the right way, it would be a template for other communities in our area to use. So that's a high order, but it's there. And I think we've got the right people this time to do it. Cause like we go in here and people say, oh, like we've cleaned it up before. I think there was a comment earlier that was like, there it is. This group was chased out a few years back, and there was a lot of destruction done to this beautiful old cemetery. Right. So like we've seen law enforcement go in and take people out. Like Perry, you and I have seen that on Elrod. Like we would go back there and there'd be 20 people back there, and now there's no one. Okay, so that's good, but all the trash is left behind. And then there's also groups that go in and pick up all the trash and clear it up. And that's great. But wait a couple months or a couple years and they're right back there because they kind of travel around and find a place where they can set up camp without getting caught, and then they get established, and it's really hard to get them out. So we got to figure out a way to solve it permanently, right?
Well,
and it's everybody.
There is a different way to go about doing this.
All right.
This is I don't know what the Oregon laws are about this. This just came to my head, so I'll just mention it briefly. So what the cities do out on Long Island is they incorporate, and that makes the entire city private property. So from there, they can require resident permits to even park on their streets. They can close off entire beaches. And when I lived there, when I first moved there, I thought, well, that's a little unfair. Then I came to realize that there's really bad people out there that don't have your best interest in mind. And if communities have to do these things to protect themselves, that's just the reality of living among human beings. So that is an option for closing down cities. I don't know if it can be done in Oregon, but I sure as heck would like to explore it, because like out here in Fairview, if we could incorporate and make it all private property so that people couldn't park along the roads or, park willing, it would change a lot of things. So that's something they're using over on the East Coast.
My inclination is for less government and less legislation, but that's my vote. I get one vote, and that's what it would be for. So but we got to get it solved some way, and we've got to find a balance, right? And I'll just replay the original footage while we talk about this some more. But we've got to find a solution. We got to come together, and there's going to be all different ideas thrown out there, and none of us are probably going to like the final solution 100%, right? There's gonna have to be some compromise. But
here's my question for the City of Lakeside Mayor and City Council. You guys,
by the way, real quick, the Lakeside is incorporated, and all of this was on federal land. So go for it.
Okay. So I'm guessing they have a council available to them, an attorney available to them to ask, to approve everything. Can our cities go to their council and have the councils review all Oregon statute and look at the most draconian we can possibly be? What is like the furthest extent that we could take to absolutely exile people who don't participate or, don't maintain that, that are causing problems, and then kind of walk back from there? Like, can we find out how far, like what exactly is everything available to us? What is every possible thing we can legally do, and then kind of walk it back to a point where we're in a humane space where we're all comfortable with it.
I mean, I think that's a great idea. I think the whoever's in charge of this forest land, so like the ranger that's in charge of this, and the tribal chief, who, because I think that's what the cemetery is, and the mayor of Lakeside and their attorney, and think like those three for sure should meet and get together and do some brainstorming and start a path. Get a plan together, maybe form a task force, something like that. That would be great. But also, like, I do want to throw this out there. This isn't actually Lakeside property that we're viewing right now. I mean, it's affecting Lakeside, right? These people, again, we'll have that interview next week where they talk about getting drugs, selling drugs to Lakeside, and stealing stuff from the stores, and so it's affecting Lakeside for sure. I mean, anybody in Lakeside has told me about this already, that it's affecting them. So, but the mayor of Lakeside is throwing it out there to help solve a problem that it's affecting her, but it's the genesis of this problem is on federal land. So that's really cool. I just want to throw that out there. I have not seen other mayors do that. I've not seen other mayors in our area go outside, and try and solve problems outside of their little city that are affecting their city. They just go, that's not my problem, or my hands are tied, and they don't want to talk about it. And that's really cool that we have a little opening here to maybe have some people work together and solve things that are like bigger scoped than just because Lakeside's a really small town, little community with not a lot of resources. So it's going to take a bunch of people working together to get this solved. So there's been a lot of comments. I don't even know how to read all these, but Perry, you haven't said anything in a while. I know you have some thoughts. Go for it.
When you're looking for solutions, it's very easy to see what has been tried and true and does not work. It's all examples are everywhere, and pretty much everything that goes on right now has been proven as a failed attempt everywhere. Obviously, the free handouts fail. Obviously, free housing fails. It's all been proven time and time again. People need to stop trying to say that, oh, well, if we try it, then it'll work this time, because it won't. It's been proven over and over. We need different ways of attacking this.
You know what has been proven to work? Mandatory workforce programs, making people go through jobs training.
And new people. It looks like I'm not familiar with Lakeside, but I know they've gone through some turnover. So maybe some new people with some fresh new ideas will help as well. The mayor says she'd love to have a conversation about Lakeside, what we know, what we've done, and what to do about these issues. Really cool. I'm not sure if you actually literally meant right now, but I did send you a link. No pressure. If you wanted to join, I sent you Facebook Messenger link. If you wanted to join in on the broadcast, but like no pressure. You don't have to do that. That would be crazy for a mayor to just hop on a live show like this unannounced. But we would definitely love to set something up. We could even do something pre-recorded where we could ask you some questions. The live is really cool because people can comment, and we can see those comments here and bring them up on the screen and have people interact, which is really neat. But yeah, what kind of questions would you guys have for the mayor or city council or the Forest Service ranger? Oh, hold on a sec. She says she has 2 little kids screaming in the background. She's a family lady. So yeah, not going to work this time, but we will set something up. But yeah, what kind of things, kind of questions do you guys have for leadership, the tribal leadership, the Forest Service leadership? Like,
I'd ask them if they could wave a magic wand. What would they change? What needs to be different? And just get those wheels turning.
That's your high level thinking again. You want the whole wand. Because I'd be
Well,
thinking, how do we get that effing gate up, right? Like, how do we get the gate?
You just got, yeah, but going after these problems, we need to have a big, hairy, audacious goal, right? In business, they call it your BHAR or whatever. We need to have a vision, because if we don't have an envisioned destination, we're going to be kind of grabbing at straws with our solutions. We need to know what we're aiming for so that we know what's getting us there and what isn't.
I used to do this thing with a team when I had a consulting firm. My team, I would do like start, stop, and continue. Have you guys ever heard that? Like we would do it every couple weeks. You'd have a little meeting, like what's working, what hasn't worked, what needs to work. Like like that would be cool to have some sort of a task force that kind of meets regularly to figure that out. Because like we're also not going to be able to just have one meeting and come up with a solution, right? And but we can make some progress, right? Like there are so many people that reached out to us. I mean, we just posted this online like Sunday. So, but the amount of people in a little community of Lakeside that have reached out to us that want to pitch in and help is awesome and overwhelming. And I know we can do something. We can make some progress. We can make some dent in this, and maybe that will be like the first step, and then that's where we stop, and then somebody else steps in and gets us higher, and we just keep moving along. So Perry, you're thinking, let's hear it.
The environmental factor. There's so many outspoken people who freak out about environmental issues all the time, and yet they ignore how the impact the homeless have on the environment. I mean, there's 10 Mile Lake, 10 Mile Creek, Eel Creek, all right there, getting polluted. There's been gill knots seen in those waters, so they're catching like steelhead, big fish, game fish. That should be a gimme right there. That should be something everybody cares about. Hey, these guys are impacting our waters, and it needs to be taken care of. And the forestry lands, I mean, that's their job. That's their job. And and they're not doing their job.
Yeah. It's the end result is obviously not good, right? So we need to define success. What does success look like? I would think, picture a normal cemetery, that you would feel that your loved ones who have passed away are respected, and you can go there and spend time with them in a revered environment. That I don't think that's too much to ask. I would start with the cemetery. That would be I felt sick to my stomach in there, and I've been in some really crazy situations, but that one really made me feel sick to my stomach. So that's where I would start if it was me. People who are watching, there's a comment section we're on YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook. Like, comment, like, what do you, because we'll read through them afterwards, and we can digest that and give it to the people who we end up having conversations with, the mayor and the Forest Service ranger, things like that. So type in the comments, like, what do you think we should do? Big picture, small picture, like, where should we start? What, if you're in Lakeside, what's most important to you? Is the cemetery most important? Is the drug stuff? Do we need to raise money for the county drug enforcement? Is that something we need to really focus on? Maybe that's the highest priority. I don't know. We need to hear from you guys. Perry turned into a little dot with a silhouette, but he'll be back. So yeah, what do you guys think we should do? Where should we start? And where do we go from here? And would be very cool to get all the people surrounding this situation involved. And it also Perry, wasn't it a campground? Not the cemetery, but some of that area. Didn't it used to be a campground, he said?
Yeah, you can still even see some of the camping spots that they used to have in that area.
That's probably too much to ask, but that would be really cool if it was turned back into a campground, something that people could enjoy. I love camping. People with families, that's the coolest thing about America, you know? Like, and we have it right there. People come from all over the world to see these dunes. It's like, how cool would that be to be able to share that place, not only with our community, but with the rest of the world? Aren't there movies about those dunes? It's called
Don't film
Dune.
those dunes. Was
Frank
Dune? I
Herbert or
thought Dune was
something.
filmed in
Or maybe it's the Florence Dunes, but that's pretty close. Lakeside's pretty
Goonies.
close. Goonies. I thought that was Astoria.
Maybe it was.
I don't know. Somewhere in Oregon. It's all,
Pop culture is
it's
not-
all the
not
same.
my-
I went to Astoria. It's very different than here. Let's keep it that way. Yeah. What else do you guys have? Like, I have so many questions for people that are not the three of us, and I'm actually really excited. I've worked with some other city councils, and maybe work isn't the right word. It hasn't worked. So like, let's make this work.
One of the really amazing things about the attendance tonight is that because they are actively engaging with community members, people are going to really like that. But it's going to put pressure on other local leaders to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whether people disagree with us or agree with us, if you refuse to work with people who are kind of acting as a voice of the people, you're not doing yourself any favors. And so I really want to thank those that have joined in, because it sets a precedent. I mean, all of you joining in and participating in this, being solution oriented, you are setting the standard of leadership for our county. Like, people will notice, well, the Lakeside leadership is joining in. Why aren't these people? And it does put a pressure. It sets a standard, and that's awesome, because it's leading to collaboration, and collaboration will lead to some solutions. So we're on the right track.
And people should diversify themselves. Like, I'm on this show, so I'm trying to be very, like, positive and constructive and upbeat, and everybody should do that, and that's great. But you can also, like, afterwards, like, rewatch it and look at all the garbage and be really mad and curse at the screen and say all the mean but maybe appropriate, if it's the end of the world sort of things you want to do to clean up that mess. Like, let's just fucking get it out of there. But what is that going to do? Typing it into a keyboard, screaming at the screen, it's not going to do anything. And I've been there. I'm still there. I do that, right? I was watching this footage just going like, what the, this is crazy. But it's not going to solve anything. So diversify. You can do that, but after you're done and you blew off some steam, then go, okay, but now what? Now what do we do? What's next? Somebody made a comment, and it reminded me of Coquille. Coquille, Sturdivant Park has a camp host, and I don't know if they do anymore, but when I stayed, I was there for about a month while we were looking for a home here in Coos County, and I renovated an old Ford van and lived in it. So it was cool though. It was like $10 a night, and there was a camp host there named Rick, and Rick kept the place clean and nice, and not just clean in terms of trash laying around, but also clean in terms of drugs and riffraff. And I don't think he was paid. I think it was just, you get to live here in your RV and get a full hookup. And he didn't do much more than just kind of walk around and keep an eye on the place. And he was a great guy. And obviously that's, like, hard to find, right? It's hard to find somebody you can trust who can do that the right way and have the right sort of demeanor with people and not be, like, too aggressive. Because, Perry, you remember John Toppitz had, like, an issue with a camp host, and it was, like, always conflict, and they were, like, maybe going a little too far with their job. Everybody has probably run into someone in a position of authority who goes a little too far. So, like, you got to find the right people. It's not easy, but how cool would that be, right? If you could turn this place into a campground. And it's probably not gonna happen, but right? Like, that would be
Yes. We
that
could
would be
have
a way
nicer
to solve the issue of like, hey, we're going to clean this up, but how do we get it from happening again? Well, if there's a camp host there, they'd be on it, you
Mhm.
know, and if they need backup, I don't mean like lights and sirens backup, but I mean like, hey, you know, there's an issue that needs bigger than me addressing. Like they're going to be there, eyes on the ground. All is that a crazy idea?
No,
Camp host.
no.
Yeah.
Give
And a
somebody a
lot of
spot to
people,
live for free. I don't think there's hookups there. Maybe that's the problem. There's not like water and electricity. But sorry,
There's a
Brandy, you were
substation right next to it. So
was there? I didn't
yeah,
see that.
yeah.
Okay. I mean, it used to be a campground, so it must be possible. But Brandy, what were we gonna say?
oh, I was going to say there's a lot of people that will camp host just for it's in-kind rent, basically.
I was a
Mhm.
camp host in California at a couple state parks.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat. I was a camp host at a lighthouse. Well, no, I got to stay at the lighthouse in my van, or I had an Airstream at the time and a van. But and then I worked at there was a visitor center at a state park like 6 miles away, and I worked at in a museum. I was a docent. It was pretty cool. There would be like 4 people would come in every day. You get a little crazy in the head when
You're
only 4
regular?
people see you. Yeah,
Oh,
no, luckily not. I didn't
Mm.
have any
yeah.
regulars because yeah, regulars can get kooky as well. So, um, very cool. Well, next week we will have interviews with I think it was one other person. I thought there was two, but and we might go back and have somebody kind of point out some stuff in the cemetery. The person we went with didn't really want to be on film, so I think we're going to find somebody else to kind of explain it because I have no clue what I'm looking at, and they have more experience. You know, um, they've dealt with situations in the past. They've tried to clean it up. So that would be cool to hear from them, like what hasn't worked and why hasn't it worked, you know? So what do you guys think?
Oh, definitely more to come. There's a lot more to show people from out there.
It's and that yeah, that was only one tiny little bit. There
Mhm.
was didn't he say there was a 3-story structure?
Yeah,
And
across
it was
101
two
right there somewhere.
it was like we had been there for what, 2 hours? You guys were probably pissed at me because I talked to that lady for it was a 46-minute recording, so it had to have been longer. I
Yeah.
apologize, but did you I don't think you heard any of it, man, but it was like the breadth of that interview was insane.
Mhm.
The guy said she had like a or almost has her doctorate in psychology.
Yeah. I don't think she
So
has any actual degree, so it wouldn't even be a doctorate. But yeah,
she was, you know, she knew her stuff and she was very open about everything, which was incredible. Again, like we got into some of the drug stuff. It was like almost 10 minutes or so of just talking about different drugs, why somebody would get into them, why in the world would you take them, you know, is it scary to just take a drug that somebody hands to you that, you know, isn't from a doctor, right? Like how do you know what's in that? How do you know how it was made? Is it safe? She goes into how to test that. um like that's they know how to do that. That's crazy.
Was
um
she willing to go into any kind of rehabilitation program or halfway house or anything?
no, none of these people, almost none of them
So
are, and that's why they're
there's stuff
there,
going
because
on that
there
they're
are
not being
these
honest.
places for them, but they don't want to go. Like you heard the guy, like he didn't even he's never been to a shelter, and he's going off of hearsay from other people that, you know, you it's not good, or if you go in there at the wrong time it won't work, and all the he's not actually getting the facts. So oops, I cut you off. What were you gonna say?
Which, me?
mm.
Oh, anyways. um
Oh, I think I was just getting at the idea that if these people won't take help, there's a reason for that. And
Mhm.
I grew up around drug addicts, and so I have to like try to be compassionate and empathetic when it comes to these types of situations. Um, there is often things that they are not being honest about. almost always.
So you don't think the bear was chasing the guy into the road?
Well, he
I would
even
say
admitted it
that
was.
no
Yeah.
one lies harder than an addict who is trying to convince you that they're not using.
There's
Mhm.
truths within the lies too, though, you know.
Mhm.
But he was actually, I thought the guy was truthful. Everyone I talked to, I thought was truthful. But it's what they're not saying
Yes,
is the problem, right? But he
yes.
even messed up, and he was like, yeah, I did beat up my dad, and you know, I asked him, oh, like that's where you were living. So it's like, yeah, you beat up your dad, and that's where you were living. So then you got kicked out, and that's why you're homeless. So that, you know,
I
that's the
wouldn't be
truth.
surprised if there was a lot more that went on between him and his dad.
Oh, for sure.
That
Lots and lots of factors.
probably the
100%.
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And the lady, she has lived there. The guy giving us the tour said he's seen her there for like, didn't he say like 6 years or something? A very
7 years.
long time. But then when I talked to her, she said she's only been there for 2 years. So, but
Oh,
still,
only
2 years is a long time in that exact spot. That's a long
he
time.
said 7 years. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And
she even
said
had, I mean, we even talked about like stuff she's growing in the ground. Like she's relocated like daffodils and she's growing potatoes. I mean, like it's a full on residence. But she said she's moving this week. She's moving to Empire because there's more services for her in Empire, which, if that's all I say, sounds like a good thing. But then when I
no.
asked, you learn that she's going to be camping. She's going to be camping in the woods somewhere in Empire, not into a facility. So it's,
I really hope that people hear that these people are coming where there are services. And to really take the time to think about the fact that these people don't want to enter care facilities. They do not want to enter rehab. They don't want to go into a halfway house.
well, and she said she's
Why?
moving to be with her boyfriend. And I said, well, why doesn't your boyfriend move here with you to Lakeside? Not that I was encouraging that, but, you know, just question why you move there and why not him? Because he's homeless, living in the woods there too. And she said, because there's more services in Coos Bay. So when we've talked to Coos Bay before, we've told them, like, guys, we're not the smartest people in the world, but we kind of think that there's a reason everybody's in Coos Bay, especially in Empire, and it's because you're a hub for these services. So you're trying to help them, but you're also bringing more. So each person you help, I don't know the statistics, but it kind of looks to me like you help one and 2 more pop up. And if there's any truth to that, that's a problem. That's not a solution. So, and so this is anecdotal evidence. We talked to one lady in the woods, and she said she's moving from Lakeside to Oregon. We talked to the 2 people in the 2-story cabin, said they are not moving. They will never move. He said he will die there in that cabin. And the lady said it was a man and a woman in the cabin. And what did she say? I asked her how, because she said she's from Portland. I said, how the heck did you end up here? She said she's on the run. And I said, from what? She said, violence and terrorism. And then she said, I said, of your own, like, doing are you the one causing the violence and terrorism? She said no. So I don't, and it kind of got a little weird. So that's kind of how those conversations go sometimes. You don't really know what the heck is she on the run from the law? Is she batty? I don't know. But so that is an interview I will have. That was a really short one. An interview through a cracked door. Perry gave me a cigarette so I could bribe them to talk to me through the door. I can't believe I just said that on air, but that's what happened. That's what you got to do. Yeah. So
I just hope that people connect the dots between these people are going where they can get the most free stuff and that they do not want help beyond handouts. So please, for those listening, consider the impact of your actions before you congratulate yourself for doing something that you think is good.
I will consider that as well. I should not congratulate myself for an interview that I I got by giving a handout through a cracked door.
No, listen, you do what you gotta do.
I hope someday I don't have to do this ever again. Honestly, I think
Right?
we have an opportunity here. I'm like praying to the gods that this is it. This is the opportunity. We do it. It works. Maybe not perfect, but we do it, and it's better than what we've done in other places. And we give that to the rest of Coos County as a template. Here is again Mayor Nikki Wood, our most popular commenter of the night. A thought from another counselor was a city campground. We have no tax base. It could be a source of income. She's talked to Val Hoyle, representative, and it is a big ask. She had talked earlier that they had asked. Let me find that comment because that's relevant. Through a million comments. Oh no,
Big ask
I'm
for
not going to
them
be able to
hand
find it.
over, but they won't maintain it themselves.
Is that what it was?
No, I'm just reading. I'm just seeing what you wrote.
Oh, read it again. Sorry.
Oh no, I'm just talking about how it's a big ask for U.S. Forest Service to hand it over, but yet they won't take care of it themselves. They won't
Right.
Yeah.
maintain their own
Yeah.
property.
I think that's what
They
her
won't
comment
take
was
care of it.
earlier. It was something they had asked to like take it over so that they could manage it. And it wasn't something they were willing to go for, which is unfortunate. So,
Yeah.
but we gotta, maybe we try again. Maybe there's somebody different in that role. Maybe Nikki has a different demeanor than her predecessor. I don't know what it is, but something's got to give. Something's got to give somewhere, and we got to do this. So people online seem pretty enthusiastic and excited, and that would be really cool. But yeah, do you guys have anything else to say? I feel like I've been talking too much.
I don't think so.
This was, for me, one of the most emotional interviews because I got pretty personal with some of these people, and like hearing that guy for 7 years has been going buying a tent, and to me that, like, obviously, like, to a normal person, that is ridiculous to use government money to go buy a tent and clothes and a phone every month, which is probably a little bit of an exaggeration. But I've seen other people do that. I've heard this from other people. It's crazy. But these are not your average Joes. So we've got to find a way to incorporate them into our world because they are here. And, everybody's got a purpose. Everybody's got a role to play. So I don't think we can just like take these people. What did they do? Wasn't it Australia? They just took everybody from Britain and sent them to Australia because they didn't want them, whether they were criminals or whatnot. Like, we can't do that. Hitler had the Madagascar plan. Look that one up. That was not cool. Anyways, let's not do that. Let's be better and find a way to all live happily together. And because I don't know. I'm trying to like find a way to make this sound nice. What do you guys think?
I think that we have a wonderful dynamic, Chris, because you're very logical and very workable, task oriented. Perry is brilliant and very fact oriented and also very logical. And I kind of have like also very logical, I think, but a bigger picture kind of cultural view of it. And I think that all of our perspectives mesh nicely together. So we're kind of touching on issues from a lot of different angles.
And Perry's the like silent, but reserved, but like deep thinker. He's the guy you want in the room when it gets quiet to finally say the thing that everybody's been thinking. Like Jeff here, he just says send him to Canada. Like, come on. But also yes, please. Right? Like it's so frustrating, right? Like we have to solve this. Come on, people. America has solved incredible things. But we can't solve this. Come
Well,
on.
it's not a matter of that we can't, it's that we have had people in power who didn't want to solve it.
Well, let's get them
Okay.
out.
We have people in power right now, and I'm not referring to at a local level, I'm referring specifically to a state level. We have people in power who do not want to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Which
will
reminds
stand by
me,
and substantiate that comment if I need to.
it is the district elections right now. It is the 12th. You have until March 20th to file to run for board seats in taxing districts all over this county. Airport board, school boards, the college board. If you're mad that there's a sex offender teaching GED courses and tutoring minors at the community college, you can run for one of those board seats and impact that situation and many more. I know someone, I talked to them today, who's potentially going to run for one of those seats. And he used to teach, I think it was diesel mechanics at another community college in Oregon. And he's hopeful that not only can he solve the sex offender issue, like, come on, we should not have sex offenders teaching minors at our community colleges, duh. But also he would like to bring in more of like the trades, a diesel mechanics course at our community college. How freaking awesome would that be? So I don't want to out him right now. He hasn't filed yet, but we're thinking of it. That would be really cool. Yeah, like that's how we do this. We find people who are passionate about these things and we get them out there, we support them, and we change the leadership if it's not working. And we continually do that, and people shouldn't take that personal. Like, look, if you ran for elected office because you were passionate and excited about solving things and helping the community, and you've been in there for a little while, and it turns out by maybe looking around that you haven't done it, or you've only gone so far, you've taken it as far as you can go, but now maybe it's somebody else's turn to take it a little further. Like, don't take that personal.
Yeah.
And I know that's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Or if you need to meet about it, just get out and let somebody else get in there and solve these things, because we've got problems. We've got a lot of awesome assets in this community, a lot of good things going for us, but we also have some problems and we need to address them. So there are district elections. If you go to the county website, you can look. And if you go to the elections page, which is within the clerk's department, so it might be kind of confusing on the website to find it, but or call the elections office. I called them today and asked them a bunch of questions. They are awesome there and they'll answer your questions. So please, we need people to run for school boards, all these districts. There's isn't there like 100 some? I'm trying to find the picture and I can't find it, but
a bunch, the port, and everywhere.
If you look at your tax bill, it's pretty, it's all those line items in your tax bill. All those districts are the ones that take your money. But if you want to say in that how they spend it, maybe they take too much. I was just talking with someone today, like the airport gets, I think it's like 1.4 million per year from property taxes. Do they need that? It would be really cool if we had an airport where it was like $50 to fly to Hawaii, right? So it'd be really cool if they got all this money and it was really cheap. But wouldn't it also be cool for people to be able to pay their bills and buy food and live like retired people and not have their property taxes go through the roof? So, if we could kick back 1.4 million to the taxpayers or to the jail or something, instead of towards cheaper airfare for rich people who go to Bandon Dunes.
Yeah.
You got to balance these things.
Mm-hmm.
I would really like to see that money used for a subsidy program that allowed residents to fly out of our airport at discounted fares, because right now I'm pretty middle class. I make okay money. My husband makes good money. We can't really afford to fly out of North Bend. We have to drive to Medford or Portland. And it's really frustrating to know that my tax dollars go to support an airport that I really can't afford to fly out of. And I don't think many of us here in Coos County can. It's really frustrating.
I mean, the best way to get a discount on airfare is to not have to pay that line item in your property tax bill. And then that's your discount. Everybody gets it. And they get it equitably.
I know that the airport does support Bandon Dunes, and Bandon Dunes really does support this community. And so I do understand that food chain. But I think these very wealthy people can pay the bill. These people, when they come to Bandon Dunes, they don't care how much money they're spending. The amount of money they spend is astronomical. They don't care. And so they increased fees for them. These people don't care. They're going to spend it anyway. They're very, very wealthy, like a kind of wealthy that we just kind of like don't even realize, I think. And so these people don't need our money at all.
It also just should
They
be
need to raise the
profitable.
fees.
Like the
Hmm?
airport should be profitable. Or not,
Absolutely.
but not profitable, but you know what I mean? It should break even. It shouldn't need our tax dollars. It should
Yes.
be functional. And,
Yeah.
or I don't know if it's legal, but like, and no, if the money should be returned to the taxpayers if you don't need it. But if like, for some reason, that's just never, ever going to happen, like, let's compromise. Maybe send out of the 1.4 million, send $500,000 of it every year to fund a few jail deputies and a few deputy district attorneys to help the crime situation, which does benefit the airport because if people are flying in and they're going to like Coos Bay area and they're dealing with crime, that's a problem, right? And if word gets out, statistics get out, and it gets out of hand, that's a problem. So like it is airport related, but in general, if you don't need the money, send it back to the taxpayers. But if we've got to make a compromise, then send that money to like where we need it most desperately, because the commissioners aren't doing it. The people who have control of the county general fund right now are not appropriating those funds with the priorities that we would like. They're doing it how they want. And so if you want to run for airport board, people who are listening, you have access to $1.4 billion, I believe, of taxpayer money, and you could help decide how it's spent. Same thing at the community college. I think it's like 4 million, 4 something million dollars in property tax. A lot of money. A lot of money.
That is just another kind of big picture issue I have is when you say these things and people say, well, it's illegal to move funds from one pot to another. We can't do that. Publicly attack our state for implementing regulations that negatively affect our communities, like criticize them publicly. We need leaders who are willing to stand up to the people in Salem and tell them what you have in your little brain as an ideology or as a theory is failing in practice and destroying our community. We need change. And like, we need people to stand up to each other. And the excuse that like, well, we can't do that. Okay, well, what are you doing to fix the fact that you can't do what you need to do to actually solve the problem? Like,
Well, and
these
we've seen
people
it.
need to get a little bit more confrontational. And this might be like my 8 years in New York City coming out because people on the West Coast are a little too passive for my taste. But like, come on, people. Like, we need people to grow a pair and like start calling this stuff out publicly. And I know it's scary because for me to come on this podcast or this live stream and start doing this stuff has been terrifying for me. I really worried about how it would impact my career, how it would impact my clients, how it would impact my employer. So I would encourage all of you, if you are dealing with fear about reaching out, reach out to a support system, even a professional support system, and ask for guidance to navigate that fear, because the result of letting your fear keep you from standing up for what you know needs to change is the thing that's keeping us from making the change. It's tough
But we've
change.
seen other cities do it, like Grants Pass
Mhm.
stood up and said, we're no, Oregon, this is bullshit. We have a problem and we're going to solve it. And we're going to solve it the way that makes sense for our community. And they got sued and it went up to the Supreme Court and they won. So not only did they win, but they also proved that they have a backbone. And
Was that recent? I thought they got sued. I thought they were getting sued again. Or was
probably
that, did that
it's
resolve?
never ending, it's like
And these
a
they're
eternal
getting
battle.
sued. Yes, and they're getting sued by these human rights activists
Right.
who are perfectly
It's crazy.
fine with people who can't self-sustain, living in absolute abject squalor. And I'm sorry, but I don't care if you consider yourself an activist. You're an activist. You're actively working to enable human suffering. That is not good. That is not
But if
just.
they only
That is
have
not
one
ethical.
city, little city, Grants Pass to pick on, they might win. So let's step up
If
to
we
the
all
plate and
stand up
join them in
against
that
it, yeah.
fight. And if they have all these cities dispersed all over the state, it's going to be really hard. They're going to run out of money. They're going to run out of passion. They're going to run out of people. We are stronger than them. We just have to like believe in ourselves enough to do it. So also, before I forget, if people are interested in running for district elections and you're kind of like, well, how do I campaign? Like, how would I even raise money? What do I do? Where do I start? Ask one of us. Reach out. And if I can't help you with something, I'll point you in a direction to somebody who can. If you need help with graphic stuff, if you need a cool logo for your campaign, or you just don't even know how to start thinking of that stuff, I can help you. I can do graphics and things like that. I can help with a website or social media stuff. This is a smaller election, so you probably don't need that. But there's probably going to be one or two of these races that are like highly contested and contentious. So we might need that. And if you whether you're Democrat or Republican, if you have questions about like how to articulate your platform, I'm good with doing that too, and doing research. I know the Democrat Party platform, I know the Republican Party platform very well, and don't look at them like they're a Bible. It's like a guidebook. The Bible's a guidebook too, but you know what I mean? Like, look at it as something that you could look to like for guidance, and anyway, so graphics, signs, campaign related stuff, or if you just have questions about like what the responsibility is like, I can probably point you to some school board members or someone on the airport board that can answer your questions. So that's what I'm throwing out there. If that helps you get over that initial like, whoa, this is a monumental task, it's really not. So Harry, you're holding that wall up really well.
Really well. Yep.
You're always thinking, so what are you thinking?
We do need more people to step up. It's really not much of a commitment. You're not spending all week doing research on what's going to come up at the next meeting. Most of it's pretty simple stuff, and it doesn't take much. And there's other people that have already been there that will help you through it to figure out the ins and outs. And everybody will pick it up pretty quick if they just step up and try and help out.
And we can give you a megaphone. You can come on here.
Exactly.
You can talk. I can help you get on other platforms to spread your message. I can help you so you don't look like a deer in headlights, and maybe play interview with you and ask some questions to get you in the rhythm before you just like boom go live, or something. Like, we're not here to even people who I don't appreciate their views because they're crazy and they're destructive to our society. I want to at least give them a fair chance to articulate what they're thinking, and so then we can discuss it. So this is not a situation where we want to just try and like throw gotchas at you. Kelly says, in your interviews, have you asked those in these camps how they think the community feels about what they are doing? I have. I will definitely try and keep that in my head to ask every time now, because it is extremely important. It can get confrontational though. I try not to be confrontational because, like Brandy said, if it starts getting stressful, these people have a tendency to kind of, anyways.
Very unpredictable.
I remember one particular interview at Mingus Park. Perry probably remembers this. The people who were camping there was like 6 of them camping in the pavilion at Mingus Park, and I was just like, why do you think this is okay? Like, why it like, why? And they pointed to the sign and it said like first come first serve, essentially. And I'm like, but so you think because you get here like what, first thing in the morning, that you get to stay all day and that's your right? And they were like, yeah. So that was one instance. Do they all think that way? I don't know, but that was pretty unfortunate to hear that, essentially, oh, because we're here first, we get to stay here all freaking day. And I said, I try and be, it really pisses me off to see situations like that and to talk to someone who's really entitled and has no care about the community. But I try and like keep a level head, but it's like, there, it smells like urine, there's garbage everywhere, in a park. It's one thing to do it like far, far back in the woods away from everybody, but like Mingus Park is amazing. Mingus Park in Coos Bay. And they didn't care. I don't know. Like, you've heard it from people, right? Like, Perry, why
Yeah. Yeah, they do not care about anybody but themselves.
I would argue that they don't even really care about themselves.
Probably not. Yeah. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a mental health specialist. I probably should not be interviewing these people. I should probably not be asking them questions
No, you
about
should.
the cuts on their arm and things like that.
You
It's
should.
like, it's very uncomfortable for me. But yeah, they've got issues, like, obviously. And so I don't know. I don't know where that's why I'm like, the cemetery. We we need a fence for the cemetery, and it needs to be locked off. People can have foot traffic, but that's a great place to start,
I got
because
an
then you don't
idea.
have to get into the weeds over like, why is somebody pissing all over themselves and refusing to leave a pavilion at Mingus Park, right? Like, that's where you can start somewhere and leave that out of it, because the
Here's an idea.
Mingus Park thing I offered to the city. Remember this, Perry? I was like, why don't you just have a reservation system? Take down the sign that says first come, first serve, and say, please reserve this pavilion online from the city manager. And they compromised by removing the sign. And then they blocked off the whole building. So no one could use it. But anyways, go ahead, Brandy.
I'm assuming the city probably has a 501c3 set up. They can easily take donations. Maybe solicit. So our local businesses are like super generous. They donate tons of money for tons of stuff throughout the year. Maybe the cities could approach some of our fencing or welding companies and ask if they would throw a gate together for them pro bono.
Oh,
Do
for
it as
sure.
a tax write-off, because we have very generous people in our communities. And if they say, we need a gate, this is what we need it for, we need a gate, we need it installed. Could you guys, is this something you could do for us as a tax write-off? And see if that doesn't hurt to ask.
Yep. And I would be willing to donate surveillance cameras so we could set it up and know when people are, trespassing and setting up camp. We've had success with that in Coos Bay and North Bend, where, if you get them, nip it in the bud right when they're going back there in the trails and setting up a camp, you go there and it's less confrontational because they haven't been there for a week. And it's pretty easy. Pretty simple situation. And so that you can do that without a camp host. We could have cameras back there, and somebody in town can just be available, and it could be like a rotating basis, and they can go take care of the situation. And you don't have to be like trained or anything. It'd be great. It would be great if we had 100-person army of sheriff's deputies to go around and take care of all this, but we don't. So they're not going to be trained, and that's the situation. But it would be better than letting them do what they're doing. So that's something I would suggest. But yeah, community donations. I think my gauge on this is that that's going to happen. We're gonna come up with a plan, and part of that plan is going to be like, okay, because you're gonna hit a roadblock, right? Like, well, okay, we don't have the money for this. City of Lakeside doesn't have money to fix this stuff, and some of it's not even their land, so they shouldn't be paying for it. And the forest, Elon Musk's cutting everything from the budget, so the Forest Service is going to say for sure as shit, we don't have money for this, right? So no one's going to have money for it, so the community is going to have to come together and do it. But they're not going to do that unless there's a plan to keep it, put their time and resources into making a nice gate, if it's just going to be driven through and wrecked. And those signs you saw, they were like, instead of no dumping, it said no humping. Like, come on, are we 10? I don't know, but there shouldn't be humping back there either.
BLM style steel pipe gate situation.
Yep.
And there were some in the area. They even put boulders, like giant, like human-sized boulders, like 300-pound human-sized boulders, in the road, or like where these trails were, and they were moved over. And the guy
Yeah.
on the tour was telling us that, like, yeah, it just the Park Service, whoever it is, will put them back, and then they'll just roll them over. And you look at them and you're like, how do you even move those? They've got to be 2 tons, these giant rocks, but they do it.
When
So
it's muddy, you just wrap a rope or a chain around it and hook it to a vehicle. And if it's muddy,
geez.
the rock will slide.
So that's where,
It
like,
won't roll.
some cameras in the trees would come into play, and, boom. Okay, notification goes off on someone's phone. They look up who's on duty, do, send them a picture, go take care of this. And that's how you do it. And I know that requires people and resources, but come on. Like, there's enough people that care about that community out there to do it, and I can help start that. And that's what it's going to take. We're going to have to do something. You can't just do nothing. But yeah, Michelle says Mingus Park is so much better with the pavilion closed off. It's unfortunate that it's not being able to be used, because it used to be cool. It used to have barbecues and picnic tables. But yeah, I guess it is better. I've been there, and it is better. There's been less riffraff in there for sure. Remember, Perry, you were with me, right? We went there, and Michelle actually came a little later, and that was the day we saw the guy. He had just gotten out of the Mingus pond. He was showering in the pond. That pond was disgusting. Yeah. And then the 2 guys flying the drone, drinking in the park, just sitting there having a bunch of beers. I like having a beer, but I was asking him about the drone, and he's telling me about how he was like laughing that he flies it really close to people and it bothers their dogs, and he was like laughing about it. It's like, you're an ass. Anyways, so he's one of Sal's friends.
Listen, people forget that, like, these people don't fit into society for a reason, and we need, like, well, yes, we need to, like, provide some kind of care system for them. Let's not act like they're victims. Like, yeah, and I mean that, like, they're not victims of their own behavior. Most of them are probably victims of some kind of abuse, something like that. But like a lot of us have been, and when you get to know some of these people and know what they've actually done, and you see the way that they treat other people, a lot of them are not very nice. And that's not to say all. I get it, not all, but like a lot of them really don't have great intentions for other people. And I'm telling you, no one lies harder than an addict who's trying to tell you that they're not using. Like a lot of people get the wool pulled over their eyes with a sob story. I'm a little immune to it because I grew up with it, but I kind of wish that people would realize that that kind of assholery, for is kind of common.
Yeah. You got to have both sides of it. You can be compassionate for them, but you also have to be compassionate for the rest of the community that's being affected by
Compassion
it.
with boundaries.
Yeah.
Boundaried compassion. So I was looking up, I'm not sure what the laws are governing this type of stuff here in Oregon. This looks complicated, but civil asset forfeiture. To some extent, some of these people are coming here to Coos County and causing problems from other places. Like if people take a vehicle and rip a gate down and we catch it on video and the police catch them, I think it costs X amount of dollars. It's like $3,000 to impound a vehicle. But if we're doing this regularly and we spend the money on impounding these vehicles, and word gets out, because all these homeless people communicate with each other. If they start telling each other that Coos County is a problematic place for them to be, there's no resources, they seize your assets, they leave you on the street to starve, they won't come here and they'll leave. And I know that that is kind of like not the nicest solution, but when your neighbors are getting robbed, people are getting robbed at gunpoint, robbed at knife point, accosted, assaulted, vandalism, destruction.
There's money
Like,
earmarked for that in the county budget. There's an economic development fund, and they have money. It can be used for they currently use it for cleaning up properties that look like some of the I'll play the video that I'll have to skip ahead. There you go. That look like this, but they do it kind of like a grant program. They'll come in and help clean up your property or clean them up, properties who have been foreclosed on, tax foreclosures, so they can resell them. And that's what they can use the money for. But we should be able to use that money to clean this up too.
yeah.
And I've asked for that. It has not been well received, but maybe if there's more pressure from other leaders in the community, I believe it's like $180,000, I think, is right now in that fund. I'm probably totally wrong, but it's something in that realm. It's enough money, like you talked. It's $3,000 to impound an RV. It's very costly, but if it's something that we can use these funds that are earmarked, they can't be used for like a jail deputy or something, right? So they have to be used for some sort of economic development, and they've found the loophole to use it to clean up properties. Why not use it to clean up these properties? So that would be an option. That would be really cool. But yeah, man, every time I look at this stuff, it's not good. So this is our benchmark. This is where we're at. Let's review this in a month and see where we've gotten. That would be cool. How cool would it be to be able to go back there and see something completely different,
Yeah.
progress. And we got to keep it that way, right? We got to clean this up and keep it cleaned up. So no more burn garbage. Yeah.
And maybe lawsuits are an avenue to pursue. Lawsuits against cities who are busing people here with knowing that they're doing it to send homeless people here. Lawsuits against the state for creating regulations that prevent counties from implementing the regulations they need to control the behavioral problems they're having.
How cool would it be for a local lawyer to do that pro bono, to help out one of our cities to do well, but they cost money.
The counselors or the commissioners. There's in a county in Colorado.
The county does, the city does. Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
But
the commissioner sued the Colorado state because the state was implementing regulations that were hurting the county, and the county used their council to file a lawsuit.
These councils work more defensive and not offensive.
That's probably
they're liability lawyers.
Needs to change.
Well, I mean, they're not elected positions. That would be cool. Well, that's what judges are, I guess. But that would be interesting. I wonder if that could ever be an elected position. I don't know. I don't know how that works. They're pretty much there to protect the city council or the county commissioners from liability, I think, is like my experience hearing them talk in meetings. Maybe it goes beyond that scope elsewhere, but that's what it sounds like to me. They're kind of there to go, that might get us a lawsuit, right? I don't think they're, like Perry said, defensive, not offensive. So lots of suggestions. This has been really cool. Everybody who's been watching online, this has been absolutely incredible. You obviously, people who would want to watch something like this are engaged and passionate. So we do not lack that in Coos County. So we need to harness that and throw it at this problem.
Yeah.
And then others after it, right? We need to start solving problems, forming a template for other communities to use, and do some good. Any final words? I'll go with Brandy and then Perry.
No, just thank you for everyone who's watching. Thank you for everyone who's engaging and getting involved and kind of open to a new paradigm. I think what we've tried for decades, I was born and raised in Coos County, and since I was born in 1982, we've seen nothing but a continuation, and our poverty rate is even higher than it was when I was a child. And so to the people who are open to a new way of doing things, thank you. That's what it's going to take. And so to everyone who is really unhappy with the status quo and wants to see things change, know that you have people on your team that are ready to back you up, and we're all ready to get in it together.
2025 is going to be a good year.
Yeah,
We've been
Maybe.
off to a good start. I appreciate you, Brandy, for being a part of this.
sure. Yeah, I appreciate you too. Thank you for putting it together.
What do you think, Perry? Should we ever do one of these shows again?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You
There's too
said that
much
like,
to go over.
oh yeah.
Just the crime. I keep thinking, man, each week we're probably going to run out of things to talk about for crime. And
We didn't even talk about any of it this week.
no, and
There's been a
there
lot.
was a bunch. And yeah.
They just found a guy, or we don't know the gender,
in
found
Johnson
somebody
Mill.
dead in the mill pond or near the mill pond in Coquille.
Mm-hmm. There was a guy with
Crazy.
an axe fighting with a guy with his fist at South Empire Boulevard just before the show started. So
Axe versus fists.
mhm.
Doesn't usually end well.
No.
Crazy. Well, thanks for being here, Perry.
Oh yeah.
Appreciate you. And we'll see everybody next week at 6 p.m. on Rumble, YouTube, and the Facebook. Have a good night, everybody.